Thanks for tuning in today. I'm going to do a video about the tundra biome. I apologize for the birds chirping outside. And technically, there is still a bit of winter left. February, it's going to continue to be cold. So I wanted to do a video about the coldest biome. And just a brief introduction to the tundra. The word tundra comes from a Finnish word that means treeless plains. And what constitutes the tundra is basically the Arctic area. And I'll explain why the Antarctic doesn't count in a bit. There are qualifications for being labeled tundra, including extremely low temperatures, short growing seasons, very little precipitation, about, I think, 6 to 10 inches, and poor nutrients. There aren't a lot of plants that grow there, so there's not a whole lot of nutrients. Now, let me show you a picture in this book. Okay, so this basically shows what encompasses the cell circle, the tundra. It's up north. Right? So the Antarctic has a few tundra-like areas, but it has fewer species, and it's a much colder block of ice and snow. There's no land connection to it. The qualifications aren't right to be considered tundra. So we won't talk about the South Pole much because it's not accessible by land typically, and it's much more inhospitable. I think there's like a species of penguins that lives there year round, the emperor penguin, and it gets visitors from whales and seals and the albatross and some other birds in the summertime. So I have another picture here that shows you the weather of the different biomes. Okay, so the warmer weather will have your like deserts and rainforests, and then as it gets cold, your temperate, and then we get to the tundra. Okay, so very cold temperatures, about negative 30 degrees in the winter, and then 30 degrees on average in the summer. So I'm going to show you this. Now, the way the Earth is shaped is rounder in the middle, so it sticks out a little bit, and the sun hits it more directly. See, this line has less to travel to reach the equator. So it's much more direct sunlight. So the poles are already at a disadvantage because it's tapered, and the sun's rays have to go a lot longer to actually reach that area. So even when the northern hemisphere is turned towards the sun in the summer, it's still not getting complete direct sunlight like this. But it also has, when it's tilted towards the sun at 23.5 degrees, the northern hemisphere is, the North Pole receives longer bouts of daylight, and then when it's pointed away in the wintertime, it receives longer bouts of darkness. So it's just life on the edge up there or down there. I'm sorry, it's noxious truck noises where I live. Okay. So, I apologize for those of you that don't like the sound of gum chewing, but I haven't done a gum chewing video in a while. The two major nutrients that you have in the Arctic or the tundra are nitrogen and phosphorus. A lot of the nitrogen comes from fertilizers that end up in the tundra, which can actually be a problem. And you're probably thinking, why is the tundra important? You hear a lot these days about global warming and the ice melting, and you're maybe thinking, who cares? So let's go over why that is important and how it actually can affect you. Basically, the tundra is a carbon sink. This means that it holds in more carbon dioxide than it releases. Carbon dioxide plays a big role in warming the earth, which I'll get to that too, right? And the Arctic tundra, when the plants die, they don't rot. They can't. It's too cold. There's a layer of permafrost under the snow, which prevents things, soil and organic material and real degradation of plants and animals. There are plants frozen in the permafrost from several thousand years ago, thousands of years old. So, as the ice melts, those plants and the carbon dioxide that they're holding are going to be released into the environment, and it will no longer be a sink. So that is a problem. Another reason it's important is for temperature regulation. So, where I live, sometimes we get Arctic cold waves and a cooling period, and that cold air circulates and affects other ecosystems and environments. It's also a feeding ground for many species of animals that have adapted to it, to living there, or just visiting in the summer when food is plentiful. So, it is very important biome. I don't know how to pronounce this, taiga biome, which is right underneath of it, the boreal forest there, releases a lot of oxygen into the atmosphere, and so if the Arctic tundra melts, that will affect that forest, and that's also a problem. Polar oceans are also very important because polar oceans contribute to global water circulation. And in the wintertime, when ice forms, it basically it's just fresh water, and it leaves behind salt, which is heavy, and that dense water sinks and circulates through the globe. In the wintertime, when the ice melts and the water is less dense, you have phytoplankton blooms because the nutrients aren't sinking. You actually have stratification and some upwelling. because the water is not being frozen. And in the summertime, you have that in conjunction with a lot more sunlight, and you have phytoplankton blooms, and those are really important for whales and the food chain up there. So without the ice forming every winter and the changing of the ocean up there, that would affect major weather events and everything. So that's why it's important. And I'm going to talk about some of the main threats to the tundra, and then I'll get to the fun part where I will show you a book about polar bears. We'll talk about some of the animals that do live there. So, as you know, there's a lot of debate about global warming. People say that the Earth has had warming periods in the past. This is true. I will show you. However, we're considered to be in an interglacial period, which means that a glacial period is supposed to come next. We're technically in an ice age. We're in the Holocene period, and we need to make sure that the ice makes it to the next glacial period, or there might not be one. So yeah, the Earth is supposed to warm, but it's not supposed to warm that fast. And the animals don't have time to adapt, etc., etc. There are implications, but it is true. Okay, the turquoise bands are the ice ages, and this is the current ice age that we're in. See, we're getting warmer. Okay. And so this is the warming period, and then an ice age comes and cools it, and then it warms again. This is when the Earth formed, and it was a big ball of fire, and then it cooled and it cooled and it cooled, and then it got warm and then it cooled. So we're technically supposed to have another glacial period before we go back that way, but we're starting to go back that way too much. Too fast. Feel free to leave comments if you are more educated on this issue below. I will read them. It is a debate that is ongoing, and I'm not going to talk about the factors that contribute to that, because I just want to focus on the topic. Okay. So, some direct hits to the tundra right now are overwhaling. There is a worldwide anti-whaling movement, but not every country follows it because the waters are international. They don't technically have to. I don't know if you've ever seen whale wars on Animal Planet, but overwhaling. Also, because things don't break down in the tundra, usually whatever ends up there kind of sticks around. They've actually found DDT in seal blubber, and nitrogen from fertilizers can cause aggressive plant species to outgrow the smaller ones. And you might be thinking, again, who cares? But there are very specific animals that eat the smaller growing plants. There's a niche for everything up there. Because it's life on the edge, it's very delicate balance, very specific animals for very specific plants, etc. So that's a problem. There's also been a lot of oil drilling and debates about continuing that. The problem with destroying the pristine land there is that some of the migratory animals, their migration paths are blocked by roads for oil hauling. The birds get covered in oil, and there are dead zones in the water, much like the one where the Mississippi River runs into, and where there was the oil spill that can cause problems. So those are the main problems, other than global warming, to the tundra. Those are the main problems. So let's talk about the animals. Okay. I'm going to read a list of some plants and animals. You guys are all familiar with the picture of the polar bear stranded on ice. Not enough ice for him to go feed in the wintertime or in the summertime. So he's there year round, the polar bear, but some animals are just visitors. So for plants, let me get close for this. We have the Arctic moss, the Arctic willow, caribou moss, which, big surprise, is eaten by caribou. Lichens, which are decomposers in the Arctic tundra. They're really important for breaking things down because not very many things get broken down. Not enough sun. Cotton grass, bearberry that the bears eat. Okay. Phytoplankton in the water. Arctic poppy, hay, and some pines. Now for the animals. We have polar bears, which is a tertiary consumer. Arctic fox, peregrine falcon, wood bison, musk oxen, squirrels, lemmings, walrus, wolf, caribou, Arctic bumblebees. I'm sorry, my forehead's broken out and I'm like right there. Krill, harlequin duck, shrews, mosquitoes, hares, harp seals, red fox, and whales. Okay. The Antarctic doesn't have any small rodents, doesn't really have any land mammals because they can't reach the block of ice floating in the middle of the sea. But the Arctic has, like I said, lots of year-round residents, as well as visitors in the summer. So it's got a lot more diversity. Okay, I'm gonna flip through Polar Bear book for you, but first I want to show you my little friend. This is the Arctic fox. He's white, which means it's winter time because the Arctic fox changes colors in the summer. A lot of the animals that live there change colors in the summer. And in the summer when the ice melts, there's not good drainage, so it kind of just forms bogs, like water, and it gets kind of brown. So the animals, they might turn more brown. So this is my fox friend. We also have my reindeer friend, because Santa lives in the tundra. Okay. He's so cute. I think probably my favorite is the fox. The Arctic fox. Okay. Now, I'm gonna flip through this book for you about polar bears. Probably the most popular animal when you think about the tundra and global warming affecting the tundra. It's like the poster child for the ice melting. There might be an easier way to do this. Perhaps I could adjust my camera, but it's kind of too late. He's running. Polar bear's skin is black, and their fur is actually like their follicle, their hair shafts are actually like clear, and they just reflect the sun or the snow. You can kind of see on his snout his black skin showing through. Polar bears inhabit areas circumnavigating the North Pole from Siberia to Alaska. So the tundra encompasses, when you think of the Arctic, it's not just the Arctic above Canada. There's also an Arctic area above Russia, a very large Arctic area above Russia. There's the Arctic fox. And some walruses. They're both prey for polar bears. The fox also will trail the polar bear to eat it. Carry on. Like, and this shows the range, which also kind of shows the range of the tundra. Some reindeer and musk oxen. And this shows some of the flowers that bloom in the Arctic. Those look like azaleas. That's just those Arctic flowers, poppies, yellow ones. Oh, the snowy owl. I forgot all about him. I love the snowy owl. They're so cool. The one in Harry Potter Hedwig. She's so cute. Bears, polar bears abound. Ooh, this one's bloody. Let's see if I can find some babies. Babies. A singular bears. Babies, where are you? Lots of. Oh my. These polar bears are feeding lots of like walrus carcasses. Look at the bones. Okay. Babies, babies. All right. There's so, I don't know if it gets much cuter than a polar bear baby. Polar bear babies are so cute. They are so cute. There aren't really any good like close-up mama cub pictures in this book. And to be honest, this is my first time flipping through it. I'm pretty disappointed in that lack of polar bear baby cuteness. I think there's like one more picture in here somewhere. Let me find it for you. Polar bear baby. So, I'm actually just kind of out of my league doing this video. It's not really something that I've studied very much. Now I am into just general conservation of the planet. So what interested me most about learning about the tundra, which I did a review for this video, was the dangers to it other than global warming and the conservation efforts, things like that. So I always feel I must touch on that subject whenever I talk about animals because it's something that's very important to me. But I just have been asked to do a science video and wanted to do one for winter time. And I thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that you learned something that maybe was a little informative for you. I would say ask questions if you have any, but honestly I'm not sure I'd be able to answer them. This wasn't my forte, so